All right. Good evening, Revanth. Happy Halloween, happy Diwali. We're recording this on October 31st. Last week you beat a very good Scary Terry's Turbulators team 134 to 117. You improved to 6-2, and you are now number one in the standings and number one in the power rankings. You know, you've suffered a lot of injuries, these past few weeks, but you won every game, since week three. Or sorry, since week four, week five. But you won. I think you've been like 5-1
I'm
or
on a
four
four-win
and one
streak right
since
now.
week three, right? If I
Four-win streak right
so
now.
I'm just asking, how are you able to get wins and put up high amount of points, with all these injuries?
Yeah. First off, I want to reiterate what you said. Happy Halloween, happy Diwali to everyone who celebrates. It's a it's a good day to be a Hammy hero, a member of the Hammy Heroes. First place, as you said, in the poll and in the standings. Yeah, and like you mentioned, like I'm honestly a little bit surprised as to how consistently like my team has been putting up. Like I don't think I've put up less than 120 points this whole year, or like maybe I think 1 week I put up less than that, but. Um, Yeah, I mean, going into the year, I like in the like before the season started, like I kind of mentioned how like I had a plan where I wanted to balance players who had a high ceilings, maybe a lower floor, as well as high ceilings. Or sorry, I may have said that wrong. High ceilings with a low floor, as well as low ceilings with a higher floor. And so I've made trades and I've kind of built my team around that. So players like Jacobs and Montgomery have really been like really solid. They haven't busted at all. They've had some good games, but they haven't really busted. And that really keeps my team like at a solid baseline. And then like week to week, like I've just had players who've done really well. And I feel like this year, like special teams is like such a big like difference maker. Like the teams at the top of the league this year have I feel like consistently done really well on special teams. Like picking up, I think Cyber, the Washington kicker, he was on waivers 1 week. I don't know how, and he's been going crazy. It's just key pickups and like key like structure of the team. I feel like it's kind of just kept me as a very balanced and very formidable team.
All right, Joseph, you got a question?
Yeah. Um, you talked about how your players aren't busting. What makes it so bust proof? Going into November, it's NNN. Like, talk about if they're not gonna be busting even in November. Um, if they do bust, how much do you want them to bust?
Um, I mean, NNN, like it's the time to not bust. If there's a time to not bust, it's then. Especially in fantasy, like this is like first half of the season's over. It's time to push for the playoffs right now. Like this is like where you kind of differentiate yourself. Uh, and I really want to get the I'm Rishi. Is it just the first seed or just top two seeds get a bye in the first week
Top
of the
top two seeds get a bye.
top two? Yeah. So I really want to keep my foot on the pedal. I want to make sure I get one of the first two seeds to get the bye. That's huge because I'm at that point like you only have to play one game to get into the finals. And yeah, I mean, like like NNN November. That's my birthday month. I love that month. It's gonna be a make or break month. I might have to stand in solidarity with my brothers. I might not have to bust either. If it's what I got to do to get the job done, I might have to pull it off. So let's ride.
All right, one trade you made, it processed on Tuesday, but reports are saying it came out on Sunday or Saturday or Sunday. And you traded Romeo Dobbs and Juwan Jennings for Devonta Smith. And I want to ask you, what do you see in Devonta Smith as a prospect moving forward?
Yeah. I mean, I really like Devontae Smith. The Eagles, like as an offense, they've gotten better like every week. And the week that I traded for him was like by far his worst week. I think it was Ankith he was the owner of Devontae Smith and in his press conference, he's like, I had more yards sitting on my couch than he did. Like, so he was really bad that 1 week, but I knew that was like that's not like who he is as a player. Um, I know he's a better player than that. The team is better than that. And then also looking at the matchups going down the stretch, like they play a lot of like this week, Jacksonville, they play the Rams, Baltimore, secondary is not good. Carolina. I mean, everyone like eats on Carolina. Like that's just like that's free falling right there. So Yeah, I kind of bought into the schedule, the player. Like I know the talent is there. And then like giving up like Juwan Jennings and Romeo Dobbs, like Dobbs was a clear sell high at that point. Like the Green Bay offense, like a different player is gonna go off every week. And Jaden Reed's obviously the clear number one there. So I felt like it was a good trade for me. I have a lot of wide receiver depth anyway, so I kind of want to consolidate there and get kind of build talent. And as a team that's 6-2, I can kind of afford to have some players who are injured, like for example, Mike Evans. He's not going to play for a couple of weeks, but I can afford to maybe take a hit here and there to consolidate and get as much talent as I can towards the playoffs. Because obviously the goal is the championship for me. So
Another question. Your team is obviously very good. You know, you have Montgomery Jacobs as your running backs, Mike Evans, Nico Collins, you know, when healthy as your wide receivers, and Devonta Smith and, you know, some other players as, you know, that can contend for your flex. And I just want to ask, like, you know, there isn't like a, you know, there isn't like gap, you know, you do have Hurts and McBride who are like top 5 in their position, but there isn't like a player which you like a Christian McCaffrey type of player, or like a, you know, like a Jamal Charles type of player. And I want to ask you, is there a move to be made to get like, you know, like a player just like that?
yeah, I would argue Nico Collins is that. I mean, like when he was healthy, he was like I think he was number 2, right? The number 2 receiver curse. He was the number 2 receiver in the league. Like a week or two after he was hurt, he still led the league in like yards. So I mean, especially with Diggs being out now, like it's gonna be him, Tank, Dell, and Mixon. Like there's not gonna be like the target tree is consolidated even more. Nico Collins is gonna be a league winner for me, I feel like. Unless I decide to trade him, and I have been talking to people about trades. There's a couple people that situations have changed over the past few weeks. I really want to be able to capitalize on that, and I'm not gonna say who, but I have people in mind. So just be on the lookout. I might have to change some stuff up. You know, I'm not gonna rest on my laurels. You know, I want to say one thing. So I think I was number 1 earlier in the year, like week 1 or week 2, and even then I said like I'm not resting. I'm not gonna be complacent. And you never know. Like my players, Rishi Rice got hurt, Nico Collins got hurt, so you never know. So rule number 1 about fantasy football, even I said it back then, you can't get complacent, no matter if you're in first, if you're in last. So yep, I'm gonna keep making moves and keep hitting me up too. If you want to make moves, I'm open.
All right, that's a good answer. Any questions? Any more questions for Revanth? I think we're good. Great. Keshav, you got a question? Are you thinking of a question? Sorry.
Oh, no, sorry, no. Not bad.
All right, any more questions before I get into his next week's matchup? I guess not. So next week, well, this week right now, but next week you play Team Super Zay'in, Amogh's team, and is coming off a really strong performance. Before Thursday night matchup, they were projected for 136. You know, how are you going to be able to put up like, you know, a ceiling game, which Amogh has been putting up ceiling games the past, you know, 2 out of 3 weeks?
Yeah. This is a really, really, really scary team. They don't have the only weakness I could say is like a wide receiver 1, but I mean, like quarterback elite, running backs elite. It's gonna be a battle. Obviously I'm not favored to win this matchup, but I mean I've like even going like last week I was against Joseph, I was not favored. So I believe in my team. You know, it's gonna be a tough battle, but I mean, hey, this might be a championship preview. That's all I'm gonna say.
All right, thank you, Revanth. Good luck to you next week, and again, happy Diwali, happy Halloween.